Thanks, Adrian. And thanks everybody for joining. And, today I'm going to be talking about social impact. I'll start off giving you a little bit of introduction of who I am, and then we'll talk about some strategies, some simple strategies, I think, for any brand, whether you're just launching or you're growing, to help marry impact with business. Talk about a few case studies from some of our partners. And again, like what Adrian said, if there's any questions or anything you want to jump in. No need to hold till the end. We can make this a conversation, but yeah, I'll kick it off with just an introduction on who I am. I don't run a food brand. I actually run a nonprofit. And we are a 501c3 nonprofit called WELLFARE. We launched last year in New York City. And I love to describe ourselves as Thrive Market for food deserts. We are a monthly grocery subscription service for families living in public housing. It's a free service, and we work with the best food and beverage brands across the country, shelf-stable goods, healthy, better-for-you snacks, drinks, and pantry goods. Typically, the products you see in Whole Foods or Sprouts. We take in-kind donations, put them in a box, and deliver to families signed up for the service. And we launched in Brooklyn. We just expanded to East Harlem, and we're going to continue expanding over the course of this year and next. So along with what I do, a huge component is partnerships, specifically in this natural food space. So I've gotten, over the past couple of years of building this, a very intimate look at how brands are succeeding with social impact and how they face challenges and are constantly scrambling. And I work with brands of all sizes, companies that want to donate 5 cases of product and companies that want to donate 2 trucks worth of product. So I get to see across the entire spectrum who's winning and who's scrambling at the last second. But working with brands primarily as product donations, we also do cause marketing things on Instagram to galvanize customers around what we do and what brands care about. We also do funding donations. We do volunteering. So try to work with brands on as many fronts as possible. And again, seeing where companies really kind of are making a commitment to what we do, which is food access. So that's a little bit about me. I think that the most important thing for me with this type of session is to give people actionable things that you can act on. To not talk from the perspective of a nonprofit necessarily, or for companies that have, 50 or $100 million run rates. It's companies that are maybe 1, 2, 3 person teams that want to find a way to leave a positive impact. So I think it really starts with first defining what is social impact and what is a mission. And I think that it's as simple as what a brand wants to do in leaving a positive impact, how a brand wants to leave a positive impact on society. I think that's kind of the simplest kind of definition. And finding what that impact is on you. And I really believe that brands really face a challenge, because they are looking at their company mission, which is we're making chips or we're making a better for you bar. And the mission there is really ultimately, at the end of the day, to sell more bars, to become a platform where we have 24 SKUs and we're in 4,000 stores. That's the mission of the company. That's what investors are going to care about, that you're committed to that. But there also can be this brand mission that is its own thing, which is that, what type of positive impact do we want to leave? And I see a lot of companies accidentally combine both, where we're trying to make a better for you blank and solve climate change at the same time. And I think that that's too confusing. You have to separate them out. And specifically with the social mission and what the brand mission is for, you have to be realistic. You have to first find something that certainly aligns with the product that you're selling, or aligns with you if you're the founder, or with the founding story, and is not too ambitious. And I see a lot of companies say they want to solve climate change, and they're making a very specific type of SKU or a couple of different products, and they have this very ambitious goal. And I would say to shy away from that. I think that isn't your responsibility. Your responsibility is to make really good products, sell them, and to leave a positive impact and help and work alongside organizations that are committed to that issue and partner with them, but not to solve it. And I think that when you set your goals, you have a very defined mission, and then you have a very kind of realistic goal. It makes a lot of things very easy and how to implement that. So I would avoid trying to solve anything, and finding a mission that does relate back to the product. I think in terms of execution, once you find out that sector that you want to align with, let's say sustainability, or let's say food access, I think that, a very important thing for a brand, especially a startup brand, is to not get stuck in the middle in terms of execution where you're half in, half out. You either find very simple, low lift ways to execute on whatever it may be, let's say sustainability or food access, or you go all in and it's a cornerstone of everything you do, like say a Bombas, where it's a part of the business model. Because when you're in the middle and you're in that middle ground where it kind of helps the brand, but it's actually kind of taxing, as you're raising money, it's the first thing investors are going to say, cut. You got to cut that. That's costing us too much money. It's not turning in, it's not converting any customers. It's the first thing that gets put on the cutting table. So I think finding either going really small and realistic steps that level up to this type of larger, this mission, this brand mission, or making it a cornerstone of your business model, one for one, or whatever it may be. You have to choose a lane. You can't be stuck in the middle, because it won't be that impactful at the end of the day on the ground for whoever or whatever you want to focus on, and behind the scenes as a business. I think at the end of the day as well, being practical, that everything has to level up, it has to convert customers. And I say that as a nonprofit founder. I understand how these impact, these missions, these initiatives to do good as a company, they have to ultimately level up in converting more customers. Because if you don't do that, then you can't leave a positive impact. And I think some brands are shy, they're afraid to talk in those terms. But at the end of the day, you're doing good to sell more products so you can do more good. And if brands and founders are too afraid to understand that connection, nothing will get done. You won't fulfill on the mission of the brand, nor will you be able to grow and scale the actual company and the product. So I think they're tied. And as a nonprofit, from my perspective, I lean into those realities. So for example, I lean into the fact that brands, when they donate product, they need marketing assets, they need photos, they want to share on Instagram, because what that will do is, either further incentivize a current customer or maybe galvanize a new one into buying into what you do. We don't have to be afraid and walk on eggshells to talk about what we care about and why we're doing things. And so leaning into that marriage of practical business needs and that realistic, feasible mission and how you bring it to life, that's what it's all about. You can't go too big, or you can't be stuck in the middle. You have to be practical at the end of the day. So once you kind of, I think, put together this mission, this realistic, feasible kind of focus that you want to have as a brand, it really comes down to how do you actually execute it? And what do you do internally as a company? Now, I'm not sure the size of some of the brands of who's here, but I think for anybody, whether it's a 2-person team, a 3-person team, 15 people, everyone in the company needs to be on board with what's happening, with the brand's social impact mission. Everyone, because ultimately it will involve everybody. Operations, marketing, the founders. I see time and time again a disconnection amongst departments, and usually I'm dealing with marketing, and the founders or the ops teams or the field marketing teams don't know about an initiative that the company's going after. So I think first and foremost, it's if you have a team, it has to be a blanket kind of understanding that this is what we care about as a brand, which is separate from what we care about as just a producer of products, as a manufacturer. Now, bringing it to life with the team all on board, it's partnerships, plain and simple. It's partnering with nonprofits that do this work, that do work in the sustainability sector, or in my world, in food access, or with homelessness, or whatever it may be that you've decided aligns really well with your product and your company. you have to seek out partners that do it. It is not your responsibility to create solutions. In my opinion, you're already trying to make something and build a product. You can partner and align with organizations that are already doing that work. I think less is more. The less partners, the better. And you find the one or two nonprofits that you can fully integrate with. So the easiest example, because it's what I do day in, day out, it's product and food access. So for us, and I said it at the top, finding ways to integrate into companies on multiple fronts, from conversations with the founders to product donations with liquidated product or mislabeled product, to opportunities to volunteer, to 4 or 5 different things that we can amplify on Instagram. You integrate. It's not one-off random things and it feels disconnected. Because at the end of the day, for your customers, for your investors, you want to have a very succinct commitment that you can talk about at length. You don't want to just say, oh yeah, we donated 10 cases to these people and we volunteered once here and we did. It's like, no, we're partnered with this organization and we did this, and that. And there's an alignment, and you don't have to restart conversations explaining who you are over and over and over to all these new companies. I see that all the time, that nonprofits are scrambling, especially with product. They're trying to find a home for it. You should always have a home as a manufacturer for excess. It's just, this is our nonprofit that we work with, and there's no ifs, ands, or buts. We're not scrambling last second. This is who we work with. So less partners, but partnerships are key. And I think, partnering alongside other brands never hurts, who share that same mission. We see it time and time again with brands partnering up for giveaways online. Well, why don't we do some more partnerships with other brands, bigger or smaller, that share the same mission? And we could do joint volunteering or joint donations or a joint post about X to just educate the customer on what we care about as a company or as a collective of companies. So staying realistic at the end of the day and making sure that you're smart and streamlined on how to execute on this mission is really important, and not to be scrambling, and having a very consistent partner, I think can make things a lot easier. Now, what I think could be really helpful is looking at a few case studies of this, of brands that do this really, really well. And I would love to just kind of talk about 3 companies that we're partnered with. Now, as a reminder, we're partnered with over 75 food and beverage brands across the country, probably 150 more that we'll probably bring on over the next year. And I would say that of all of the food and beverage brands, one of them really stands out to me, and it's been a brand we've been working with a lot over the past month, and that's Rind, who co-founder Matt is actually on the board of Naturally New York. Rind is a great example of a brand that isn't the largest food manufacturer in the country, but a brand that's smart on how they choose partnerships, how they structure their mission, how they execute on it. They have a campaign called Love is Rind, where they are trying to make their products, and really just nutrition in general, more accessible. But they focus on their products. How do they get their products into more people's hands that need it? They focus on children, they focus on food insecurity, nutritional insecurity. On their website, they have loveisrind.org. So it's a whole landing page that organizes what they care about and how they're doing it. And instead of saying they're looking to solve food insecurity, they're looking to be part of the solution. Super smart. Don't try to say you're solving food. That's on us. That's what I'm talking about. But it's not on the brand to try to solve anything. So being part of the solution, and then having a very focused niche of donating extra product and trying to be aligned with these food nonprofits that make healthy food more accessible. So naturally, we were a great partnership for them. Over the course of the past year, they've been a partner. Over the course of the past couple of months, they've really integrated it. So we've had the team come down and volunteer in our warehouse, packing boxes. They volunteered at an outpost where we distribute boxes to families signed up. They are making a quarterly commitment of product. We've done multiple posts on Instagram. We're going to be in their newsletter. And see, that integration, where it's just one big fat email thread, is just so much more streamlined than Rind trying to find 1,000,001 nonprofit pantries to work with. They know that they know us, they know how we communicate, they know what our expectations and capabilities are. I know Rind, their team, the marketing team, the founder, I know the ops and the flow, and it just makes everything much simpler. So I think Rind is a great example of how to have a focused mission, execute on it, and ultimately it feels a lot more profound and ubiquitous across the company, and makes the customers feel more comfortable. They'll see and start recognizing who we are. And it ultimately, we believe, galvanizes Rind customers or new Rind customers to care more about the brand. Another example, and this is a little outside of food and bev manufacturing, it's Sweetgreen. We're their exclusive New York City partner for Sweetgreen. We work with all their stores. We do a lot of fun salad things at our distribution outpost, not necessarily in the box, but Sweetgreen, a company at incredible scale with a lot of money and a lot of resources, they're very focused kind of on a very similar topic of food access. And they have a very simple, streamlined, and realistic way to execute on that mission. And that is, for every new store, for every bowl sold on opening day of a new store, they donate one to a nonprofit partner in the area. Very easy for a customer to wrap their mind around it. It galvanizes customers to flood in on opening day. It's impactful. It's aligned with the company and what the company makes, which is salads. It's not way over in left field with a whole totally different focus matter. But the one-for-one salad campaign with a nonprofit partner, very, very simple. Now, along with that, we work with them not just for salads, but coupons. They have coupons that they give us that we pass on to our members for free salads. We've done a bunch of stuff on social media where they're amplifying who we are and in turn amplifying who Sweetgreen is and what they stand for as a brand. So it's not just, hey, Cole, here's a bunch of salads, bye. It's let's work with WELLFARE on 5 or 6 different fronts across multiple stores and stay focused around our mission, but they can be a great vehicle for us to execute on it. And we're going to do it online and in real life. So focus is kind of the key here. And I think Rind and Sweetgreen do a really good job of it. And they're not stepping outside of their lanes. Their focus is on food access, really in line with what they do as a company. But that doesn't mean it has to be just food access. It's sustainability, it's racial justice, it's job opportunities. As long as it aligns with your brand, then it makes a lot more sense on how to execute, how to communicate with your customer, and ultimately leave a positive impact on society, what the whole point of this is. So that's kind of my, I think, overview on some effective strategies and how to bring them to life. If there's any questions, I'm happy to answer them. And again, from my perspective, being pretty unique as a nonprofit, I'll try to answer them as best as I can, but I think I'm here to answer anything that you guys may have.
We do have a question. Can a brand have multiple social impact focuses at once?
I think no. I think it should be one. And it's really to that point of focus. We can care about multiple things, but you need to keep yourself and your brand focused, because ultimately you want to keep your customer focused on a singular thing. When they see that bag or that product, they know not only that it's a tasty product or it's better for you or whatever the product stands for, but as a brand, they care about X, not X, Y, and Z. And I think, for any emerging brand, you want to stay focused across everything you do, all your messaging, and that definitely goes down to your mission, your social impact mission, is that it needs to be focused. And I would recommend one focused mission that you could invest as much time as you can in and integrate across your entire company.
Because as a follow-up there, what if you don't know what to focus on?
It's a good question. I think, I said at the top that finding that mission that aligns with the products that you make. So if you make a product with like a kelp jerky, then that naturally kind of aligns with something with oceans and climate. So that's kind of the first step, is something that aligns with just the product on the shelf, because not everybody knows who the founder is and this big backstory, but just the product on the shelf. You want customers to make kind of logical connections on what they may care about as a mission-driven brand. But then if that's difficult and there isn't a logical kind of connection, something that lines up with the founder's story, I think is a very, very effective way to identify that mission. And the third would probably be surveying and trying to understand what your current customers care about. Where do you see, where are people kind of leaning? That's probably the trickiest one. But I think most brands should be able to answer that question simply by looking at their product or by looking at kind of their story and what they talk about as the founder and the best ambassador for the brand, the founder, what aligns with the founder's story that would make sense as a brand mission.
We have another question. How much money and time should be spent on these initiatives? It's kind of a loaded.
I think, obviously that depends on the size and scope of the company. I think this is where you get practical, and you have to understand that it has to level up, especially for any type of emerging natural food brand. It has to level up to more customers. It can't be a loss. It's going to sink you. It's going to be demoralizing if you don't find creative ways that this mission and how you act on it levels up to customers. Then you're going to lose motivation. And like I said, you get in front of any investor, if they see that line item, you're spending all this money to donate product or to do whatever it may be, they're going to want to cut that thing, or they're not going to take you seriously. So I think for any emerging brand, whether it's just one person or a few people in the team, try to find as many free ways to make an impact. How can you make an impact for free before you invest any dollars into it? It's almost like, you look at it like marketing in a sense, like that, earned media or that owned media, where you can just create something out of thin air, maybe a little bit more work, but you have to save that bottom line. I think that any types of conversations of investing money into your mission, that has to be later down the line, along the same lines of marketing your product. Investing money in marketing and paid posts and paid ads and paid ad space, that's not something right out the gate. You're trying to build a brand and build a product and a following using as many creative free tools as possible. And I think that should also apply to how you execute on your mission right out of the gate. And as you get more resources and money, you can invest more in your mission.
Very cool, very insightful as well. I'm going to turn it over to the rest of the participants here to see if they have any additional questions. This has been really interesting, and I honestly, Cole, I think you know this already, but I'm such a cheerleader of yours. I am really aligned with your mission, and I really, as part of Naturally New York, I do anything I can to help support it. I definitely look at you as a visionary, and you definitely are changing the world, or I should say the city, one neighborhood at a time. So you're in East Harlem, you're in Bushwick.
Yep.
What's next for you?
Well, I think this year it's more boxes, more families, more nutritious food in food deserts and low-income communities, and more partnerships, more creative partnerships for product, for funding, for small brands that want to execute on that mission and do free things, come down and volunteer and take some photos, like those types of things. So, more of what we know how to do really well, which is our box program. But ultimately, yeah, we have a long-term vision, and I'm on a mission to solve food insecurity. And that means much more than just free boxes of really delicious food. It's something that we want to evolve into some type of retail operation and being a gateway for healthy food in low-income communities that are oversaturated in crap. So we have a long road ahead for us. But we're in New York City, we're in Brooklyn, we're in East Harlem, and we're going to continue expanding across New York with this incredibly impactful Thrive Market for Food Deserts box program.
That's really awesome. And, wish you nothing but the best of luck in